and to yours if you are tuning in onto Desert Radio. That's 95.3 FM, 105.6 in the north. We are also live on our Facebook platform at the Namibian rather, and this is The Conversation. My name is John-Collin Namene. Now today we're going to be speaking about a topic that has been making waves recently. In actual fact, cases of sexual harassment and violence in the workplace, according to a study and a report that was given to Parliament last year, in 2021 rather, shows that those cases have gone largely unreported, unresolved and unpunished. Now, the study concluded that 72% of Namibians view sexual harassment as the main and the most problematic form of violence and or harassment in the world of work in Namibia. Just recently, in actual fact, the Namibian Media Professionals Union spoke out about how journalists themselves are subjected to sexual harassment in the newsroom. So the question then begs, how deep of an issue is sexual harassment? How prevalent is it in the workplace in the country? To help us unpack that conversation, we are joined by the Acting Secretary General of the Namibia Media Professionals Union, that's Shamama Bierkus. We're also joined by Vice President of the National Union of Namibian Workers, Philip Munenguni. We also have the Chief Policy Analyst in the Office of the Labour Commissioner, that's Sakaria Nantigwa, and we also have the Editor-in-Chief of the Namibian newspaper, that's Tanganyam Padhi. To all my guests this particular afternoon, I thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Indeed. And I think, Sakaria, I want to start off the conversation with you, just as a base. The issue of sexual harassment in the workplace in Namibia, how prevalent is that really?
I beg your pardon?
How prevalent is the issue of sexual harassment or cases of sexual harassment in the workplace in Namibia?
The cases of sexual harassment, normally when there is a case of sexual harassment, there is a provision in the Act that provides for to say if there is a case, an offender or an employee might refer a case of unfair dismissal to the Labour Commissioner. But like you said, there is a report that was given to say there is a higher number of cases of sexual harassment in Namibia. So one maybe can relate to that.
Is that report with the Labour Commissioner? Do you have those statistics?
No, I'm saying you just stated that there is a report that was given.
I understand that, yet I'm asking, as a Labour Commissioner within the Ministry of Labour, are you aware of that report? Do you have those statistics on your table in the office at the Ministry of Labour?
It might be maybe at the hard table, but not to my knowledge or not to my attention.
So is that to say that the Ministry of Labour does not know about the status of that in the country?
I'm saying, to my understanding or to my knowledge, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Jemima, I'll move my focus to you before I bring Philip in. Recently, the Namibia Media Professionals Union released a statement, I think it was on Sunday, while speaking on the general status of journalists within the country, but then we also saw those two paragraphs that related to sexual harassment. And I guess as the question that we have here, how prevalent really is sexual harassment? You spoke about it at length.
Thank you for having me, John Collins. It is extremely rife. The rate of sexual harassment is extremely rife, and from the conversations I've had with some of our members and just colleagues, there seems to be a very serious rape culture in newsrooms. Journalists are groomed into having sex with their superiors. Interns are exploited. They are promised jobs, permanent jobs, because they're already in the system as interns, and then when the time is about to end, they are promised that the editor or the supervisor, whomever, would make sure that their contract will be prolonged, because and then obviously they are asked to have sex with them. We have instances where the most concerning thing is that these editors, these editors with these predatory habits, they go from one newsroom to another doing the same thing. And if you look at the density of male leadership in newsrooms, and women are mostly affected, and the fact that when they report these issues, it is not even when some of the, from my understanding, speaking to even some male journalists, is that when women report these issues or when they bring them up, the editors would amongst themselves speak like as if this is just nothing, like, oh, you must stop this, you'll get in trouble, leave the kids alone, that kind of thing. So
from what you've been hearing, what has been reported to your union, what you've seen generally as a journalist yourself around newsrooms, around the media space, how long has this been going on for?
For the longest time. I've been a victim twice, and in most cases the people remained in their jobs. In fact, in one instance, my immediate supervisor didn't even believe me when I went to report that. We went for a hearing, and then some of my colleagues ganged up on me, telling me that my colleague family is suffering, not thinking of what I'm going through, and the colleague is still wherever he is.
Tangeni, I want to bring you in here now because Jemima and that statement spoke specifically about newsrooms. You are an editor-in-chief of the Namibian newspaper. Generally, from your point, from your position where you're standing, what is the prevalence of sexual harassment in newsrooms, but more specifically because newsrooms is where you work at the Namibian newspaper?
I can only imagine it's as prevalent as it is in society. Because we cannot pretend we are different from the rest of society. So I will imagine there will be issues, there will be cases of sexual exploitation, sexual harassment, because our societies have taken on that culture for many, many years, and there's been a difficulty or reluctance to deal with it. From the Namibians' point of view, we have not received reports of sexual violence or sexual exploitation, and we would love to tackle them. I can tell you straightforward that we have had disciplinary measures taken for basic verbal abuse by seniors towards junior people. So this sexual harassment is even a more serious incident. In fact, it's a straightforward dismissal matter, and if it comes up, we will deal with that.
And we'll tackle that. We'll tackle that hardly shortly. I just want to bring Philip here. Philip, perhaps just speak to us generally as the Vice President of the National Union of Namibian Workers. You represent a large cohort of workers within the country, north to south. Within various industries. In terms of reports that come to your office, to your desk at the union, what is that looking like when we speak about sexual harassment?
Yeah, what we have heard, or what has been reported to us, most of the sexual harassment or sexual exploitation is happening in Shoprite Group. Shoprite Group, there are supervisors with a tendency that if one have to be promoted, so this specific person have to give sexual favors to the supervisor, and it also happens to, especially when you find a gay manager. It's reported that gay managers they look for sexual favors from the boys that are being recruited in Shoprite, so that they can be promoted. And it also goes.
Are we there? I can't hear anything.
Can you not hear Philip Zakaria? Philip, just continue speaking. I'll make sure that Zakaria hears you.
Okay. What I'm saying is, the reports that we are getting, it's more in Shoprite Group, and Shoprite Group have a supervisor with a tendency of when someone needs to be promoted, so this specific person need to offer sexual favors to the supervisor.
I want to come in there quickly, Philip, and Jemima, this is to you also. Philip, you have mentioned the ShopRite group in particular. Do you have any strong supporting evidence of that? Is there any factual basis to, say that it can be a very dangerous thing to say, and especially as unions, Jemima, that statement came out on Sunday also. Sometimes it can be looked like as victim blaming or victim shaming, but it's also sometimes very difficult to say things without any supporting evidence, right? So, Philip, I'll give you an opportunity to respond, and then Jemima, I'll come to you.
The report is coming from our affiliate union, which is NAFAU, and they are the ones that are dealing with most of the ShopRite workers.
I can't hear.
And if it's have to be investigated further, it can also be investigated further.
So what you're saying now is that there is no tangible proof yet?
Yes, but there are reports that are coming to the office of NAFAU in the regions, especially in ShopRite groups, that most of employees are reporting cases of being requested to give sexual favors to the supervisors in order for them to be promoted. So as I have said, as I have indicated, those specific accusations also especially when apparently the gay supervisors that are asking sexual favors from the boys to give sexual favors to them in order for them to be promoted, or probably for their contract to be prolonged.
All
so
right.
those are the reports that we are getting from the officers.
And indeed, Jemima.
Yeah, and we have also heard
Philip, I just want to bring Jemima in here quickly. Jemima, like I mentioned, the many nuance, or the many dynamics rather, bringing reports to the fore, right? But how crucial is that factor of evidence? For instance, the report that came out from your union on Sunday, is that something that can be factually based on? And also I'll ask you a supporting question with that. How important is that factor of evidence also? Just come closer to the for me. Philip, this is for Jemima. I'll bring you in shortly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
John-Collin, I think people must understand the issue is not who the victims are, but what standards and regulations are in place to prevent and raise awareness about the sexual harassment that takes place in the workplace. I do not have the legal right, because I've gotten this information in camera, basically. And even if I wanted to, which I don't, I cannot divulge this information and the names of these victims. These allegations were brought to me in confidence, and I keep saying that. And actually, speaking about that, I want to take you to a case that is currently in court. The accused's surname is Maritz. I can't remember his first name. He's accused of having preyed on young boys. Nobody asked for the names of those young boys, because that is the magnitude of the problem, and you have to protect these young boys because they are vulnerable. They would be exposed to scrutiny, to ridicule, and that should be the same principle that applies here. We cannot expose our members to that kind of ridicule. The other thing is also that...
So that's to say that there is evidence. Whether you want to expose them or not, there is evidence.
There certainly is evidence.
All right.
And my job is to make sure that we protect our members from sensation, which is currently what this is about and what the newspapers are about.
Okay.
And at all costs to make sure that they don't go through this. The other thing is also... that statement that we issued spoke about contracts, people that are working without contracts. Tangeni, how many of your people have contracts and how many has been signed?
I'll let Tangeni speak to this particular issue that we're speaking about now, Jemima. That particular
this is an equally
that particular conversation has a space and time for its own. This particular conversation, Jemima, I understand exactly what you're going to tell me now. Because the agenda is set for the show. The agenda is set for the show, Jemima. There is one for the show already. Thank you, and we will be speaking about sexual harassment, Jemima.
I understand that Tangeni is aware of
Jemima, we will be speaking about sexual harassment on the show. That is what we spoke about, and that is what we're here for.
Can you just tell us?
No, he cannot do that. Unless that is the conversation that we're talking about, he cannot do that. Tangeni, I will come to you now. On another issue. There was that issue this particular morning that I think the entire country is talking about now. There has been an article put out in one of the dailies this particular morning regarding sexual harassment claims and sexual abuse claims, rather, directed at the Namibian newspaper. You spoke about policies and all of that. Let's tackle them. What policies do you have in place, number one, to make sure that you are dealing with the issue of sexual harassment? But speak to us about these claims also. Let's unpack that.
All right. It is very unfortunate when generalized comments are being made, when not even the company is approached by the union to say, we have been receiving these reports. Can you please help us address them, or what do you know about them? So I agree with you, and you seem to be playing the sensationalization part to play to the public gallery. This is such a crucial thing. And the one example I can give you, 10 days ago, before their statement was made, our HR department picked up rumors that somebody was harassed. And the HR department went ahead and called in both the alleged perpetrator and the alleged victim to clear up this issue and to deal with it as it should. As I said, our company policies are very clear. Sexual harassment is a no-go. If we are going to not tackle the issues head-on through awareness, through case-by-case dealing with it, we will miss the point.
Is it a fireable offense?
It is an immediately dismissible offense.
And yet the perpetrators are still there.
We'll get to that. I want to bring Sakaria in. Sakaria, how then does the ministry make sure that the policies at the various companies align to the policy that is within the ministry to curb issues of sexual harassment and harassment at the workplace?
I would just like to come in, like I said, the conversation or the points of Mr. Philip. I did not hear anything, but never mind.
All right.
In terms of the policy now, Namibia has just rectified in addition to the provision that's already in the Labour Act, Section 5, subsection 7, to say, and subsection 8, a person must not in any employment decision or in the course of any employment directly or indirectly sexual harass an employee, where it continue under subsection 9 to say, wherever sexual harassment is observed or employee encounter sexual harassment, may resign, and that resignation is regarded as constructive dismissal. But just to add to that, Namibia has just rectified convention, ILO convention C-190, and this convention has to do with violence and harassment at the workplace. It was ratified in December in 2020 and came into force in December 2021. So during the rectifications, there were members that were trained, that are called master trainer, and this one, they were training those employers and employees in the organizations, just to sensitize the importance and the purpose of the conventions. And again, this convention is also having recommendation 206 that guide the employer to when developing their policy, so that this recommendation will help employer to incorporate the element.
That particular convention, Zakaria, to my understanding, has a very small part about sexual harassment. Is that the case, number one? And if so, is the ministry doing more to, really tackle the issue of sexual harassment in particular? Because now it's a bit more generalized, isn't it? It's violence and harassment generally. But sexual harassment is also one that is a bit more of a serious case, isn't it?
Yes, but I don't understand now when to say generalized. But the convention it's clear. When you say violence and harassment is include many harassment, sexual or being emotional, physical. I don't know. Understand now how is it to by saying it's general.
I mean, there are different types of harassment, aren't they, Zakaria?
Yes, in workplace.
Indeed, and that's exactly my point. Is there enough attention given to sexual harassment in particular in that convention?
Yes, indeed.
All right, Philip, I'll come back to you now quickly with these allegations that have been made, the ones that you've noted. How does the union go about them? What is your step when you hear these allegations? Zakaria, I'll try and just sum up what Philip says in case you can't hear him again.
It's very, very difficult for the union to deal with these specific cases. Because number one, as much as Mr. Muktavi is saying, they are having policies on how to deal with sexual harassment at work and blah blah blah. So this is exactly what these other companies have. But the problem that we have in this country, those that are at the helm of the policies, are the ones that are dealing with this specific harassment. So there's no any point where you will find a case of sexual harassment will go through when an employee reported to the company, to the employer, whereas the employers who are at the helm of that specific policy are the perpetrator, or they are the alleged people who are committing this specific. I'm not referring now to Tangeni Mpavi. I'm referring to other supervisors whom we have reports that they are the ones that are committing this. So there's no point. Employees are not protected in terms of on where to report these specific cases, because they are also afraid to lose their job. So there's nothing. The Labour Act does not protect these specific employees who might find themselves in these specific problems. So it's for me, it's useless for any supervisor who will tell me that we have policies. What is policies? When the specific person who's at the helm of that specific policy, is the one that will block that specific case. And that's why you have heard from Jermaine, is it Jermaine or the lady?
Jemima.
Yes, she's telling exactly what we are getting from the members, that they are afraid to be victimized because they cannot expose those that are doing it. So as I've indicated to you, people intern, some are interns, some are contractors. Someone wants her contract to be extended, or someone wants to be employed permanently. So this is what is actually happening. But later, when when they feel
all right, Philip. Philip, I want to bring Jemima in here quickly, Sakaria, just in case you didn't hear Philip. Essentially, summing it up, talking about a weak Labour Act, but also at the fact that even though companies do profess to have these strong policies, the ones at the helm of the company are usually the ones blocking the process to sort of set it out naturally. And this is where I want to bring you in, Jemima. When we speak about these processes, and when Philip mentions, for instance, the Labour Act, and also victims, sometimes being scared to come up, there clearly is a problem, isn't there? Because then it makes it difficult, for instance, for you to then, go to media houses or go to other houses and say, this is what's happening at your newsroom or at your media house, A, B, C, and D, and there isn't anything to support you.
I want to go back to my question on the contracts. I would like Tangeni to tell. Why are you?
Jemima, it's very difficult. It's very difficult, Jemima, to speak on this issue.
So why did you call me here if I'm not?
Because I called you to speak on the issue of sexual harassment.
And this question goes exactly that. In fact, that is the backbone of the problem.
I'll give you a space.
So can Tangeni tell us how many of his staff members have contracts? Because the reason I'm asking this, we've just heard from the two gentlemen that when that exploitation usually comes when people need their contracts to be prolonged. Now, if you have people working without contracts, imagine how they are open to this kind of exploitation. Is that not correct? The other thing, Tangeni, is also, are you telling me you have never received any complaint from any of your staff members? And even about incidents at social events of your company.
So there's a correlation here, Tangeni, that Jemima is making, saying that because there is a lack of, while she's claiming that because there aren't contracts being offered, that can be used as a tool of exploitation. Is that happening at the Namibian? Is that something that you have seen?
The question is, how many are on contract? How many have contracts?
Is that happening, Tangeni?
I would like to address your questions in this way. Targeting the Namibian with generalized matters is not what is going to address what I say is a major societal problem. I have mentioned to you how even just on basic verbal abuse like your dom cop, we have taken disciplinary steps. So we have to appreciate the dynamics at play about an issue like sexual relations, sexual harassment, sexual exploitation, and predatory sexual activities. Those matters, if they come up, we will address them and deal with the perpetrators just as we deal with other disciplinary issues.
But do you understand what Jemima is saying, in that there are certain instances or certain tools that can be used for exploitation, for instance, the issue of the contracts?
Definitely. And it won't matter, I would think. Even a full-time employee is as much a target of sexual exploitation exactly because of that manager, subordinate, or as you call it, reporter role. So let's not chase the sensation at the expense of the real issue.
And this is the question that's being asked. Is that the real issue on the ground?
It is a real issue. That's what I said from the start.
No, but at the Namibian, because those are the allegations happening.
No specific cases have been brought to our attention as management. And I have said it from the start. Even when a rumor was picked up, our our manager, human resources office, brought in the people to try and understand and get to the bottom of the issue.
Zakaria, I want to bring you in here. I see we are heading towards the curtain closer of our show. In terms of awareness, number one, of the Labour Act and even the convention that was signed last year, what is being done to make sure that most importantly and more importantly, staff members and also companies are aware of these conventions, are aware of these policies, and what is also being done to make sure that they progress with time?
The ministry, together with their social partner, like I said, there was a training that was conducted by ALO to train those people. They are called master trainers. Those master trainers now, they are training the employers and the employees in the companies just to sensitize the importance of the conventions and just to explain again the process of it, the importance of it, like I said. So there is much that is done by the ministry, and it's an ongoing process. So far now, there are more than 100 and something companies that were trained. Because when these master trainers training, they trained what we call change agents. And these are the people that are going to train workers or people in their organizations. And on top of that, again, the ministry is having what we call a division of labor inspectorates, whereby they are labor inspectors, and these labor inspectors, they are the ones that play much role when it's come to the education. They educate both employers and employees on the aspect of the provisions of the law, either through their inspection or through platforms. Like now, we are having the show trade fairs. You will find our ministry representatives, they are there. Whoever want to go there, pass by and ask questions, and you will be answered or you'll be given feedback or you'll be given service based on what you're looking for.
Philip, as we close, you earlier briefly just referenced the Labour Act itself, and I'm sure you heard what Zakaria has to say there in terms of what the ministry is doing with the relevant stakeholders. Just in terms of, the process from reporting all the way to up to when cases are solved, is the role of the ministry and their policies one that helps?
The current status of the policy or the act does not really help the practical problems that we have with our members, and I'm also shocked that of course this is a very sensitive matters within the labor industries or the labor fraternities, but that need amendment. If the Convention 190 was then ratified in 2020, ratification is not really a matter for us. What is more concern to us as labor unions is a part where employees are covered by that specific law in the country. So you can ratify it, but it does not make an impact or solve the problem to what our members are getting. So, and we are having a problem with the Minister of Labor because it's now more than 5 years. There's no amendment to the Labor Act. So these are some of the crucial policies or acts that needed to be amended in the Labor Act. I don't know what's wrong with the Minister of Labor. So our members are suffering, and nothing is being done by the ministry.
So Zakaria, again, to sum up what Philip is saying is that there's an issue with the Labor Act not having been amended for a very long time now. Again, from his point of view, the Labour Act itself is not good enough. Generally, it's not protecting the workers on the ground. We are running towards the end of our show. I will give you, Sakere, just to respond to Philip, 30 seconds to a minute to just respond to him.
I did not hear what Mr. Philip said. Can you...
Mr. Philip is essentially saying that the Labour Act is it's not beneficial for the workers on the ground when it comes to harassment, and he also spoke about how the Labour Act itself hasn't been amended to fit the status quo right now in the past 5 years or so. 30 seconds to respond.
Okay, I understand his concern, but as we speak now, there is a task force tripartite body that is tasked to amend the act, and it's in the process, and it's at advanced stage. These tripartite bodies, it's the trade union, employers, and the state. They are the ones that are looking into the terms, provisions in the act that have or need to be amended, and that is at advanced stage as we speak.
Indeed. And then, Jemima, I will then come to you, perhaps also to speak to what Philip is saying, just in terms of the Labour Act and how that really supports workers on the ground and staff members on the ground. But then also, look, this conundrum that there clearly is, especially within the media industry, which is where your union fits in. You have received many reports. What is the way forward after that? How do we fix this issue that you are dealing with?
So yeah, like the previous speaker said, the Labour Act has some issues, but I don't even think that is really. We're not even that's not even how far we should go. We should begin in the house. And number one, do people have security, job security, and that means have their contracts been signed. Number two is, I think people must understand the union exists to be a safe space for our members. We're not going to throw our members to the dogs, like Tangeni just turned my own words upon me by saying we're not going to chase the sensation. We're not going to do that. So we are walking a journey with our members, and whenever people feel, we are going to sensitize them on how important it is to hold people accountable. So we are working, we are speaking to each other, and those that feel they'll take the matter to the police, we are going to support them absolutely to make sure these cases are registered with the police, and we're going to work with international bodies that we've already reached out to make sure that people are held accountable.
Just before you continue, I will allow you to continue. Are you going, especially as a union, from media house to media house, to even look at their policies and make sure that these things are a safe space at the very least, or perhaps even speaking to the HR departments to find out what the status quo of policies around that are? Is that something that's happening? Is it in the works? How's that situation looking like?
So we are considering to reach out to some of the editors, perhaps through the EFN, but definitely to engage editors and see. But then one important thing that we must understand is the previous speaker said that often the people that must help these victims are the ones that either block it or they are the perpetrators. And that is why this information never gets to HR, for instance. Let me read a little bit. I've made a summary. So from what I've collected, let me just read what the feeling is out there. Let me just...
I'll allow you to keep that brief.
So the challenges that women face in the workplace is that female journalists often find themselves coerced and pressured into engaging in sexual relationships or compromise situations with male counterparts in position of power. And that already gives you an indication that, how far is it going to go? And then these individuals, these perpetrators, they use their influence to make explicit and implicit threats regarding job security, career advancement, and even access to important assignments. And then this predatory behavior, rape culture, has been so normalized. Certain inappropriate behaviors are normalized or brushed aside, like, etc. Don't do that. You'll get in trouble. They never get in trouble. And what might be considered sexual harassment or misconduct becomes an accepted part of the workplace, which makes it very difficult for victims to come forward. And you know, this gaslighting, we in the African, we have the miniskirt thing. She wore miniskirt, so she's called she called to be raped. The same thing. When you allowed me to touch my arm, and one day you go, the other thing is grooming. People do not understand grooming. Grooming is not only when you take a 14-year-old and groom them into having sex with you. Grooming is when you start a relationship with an intern or junior reporter or even a female reporter, because they don't have agency because of what the newsroom leadership look like. It's dominated by males. So you start this. Today you touch the hand, tomorrow the arm, then you put your arm around people. Where do you draw the line? Can you tell me where you draw the line?
I'll give you just 30 seconds to complete.
So then the issue of lack of accountability. Perpetrators of sexual harassment and exploitation often go unchecked, as there are no mechanisms in place. And that is what we've been informed, to hold these people accountable. Victims fear retaliation or disbelief, because victim blaming is an absolute thing. And then I want to ask lastly, that Tangeni please tell us, in Namibia, how many of his staff are on contracts?
I've made sure to ask my seniors to just give us a few minutes into the 2 o'clock hour because of the importance of the situation. Tangeni, there are serious allegations made not only towards your newspaper or the newspaper that you head, but also towards the industry generally in any case. That is worrying, that's scary, and the reports and the things that we have heard Jemima read now are also things that I think are very worrying generally. How do you react to this? How do you respond to it proactively, not only as an editor of your organization, but as an editor in this industry, in this space, in any case?
Here is where I say chasing sensation. When you have union leaders going out spreading the rumors in the public, but do not start engaging the leadership, then we have even a bigger problem addressing a genuine issue. Never, Jemima was here a few days ago. All you said was something else. You could have easily said, we have a serious problem on our hands. Your institution, we are picking this up and this and that. No one is asking you to expose the people. But to solve a problem, you have to sit with the institution or institutions where we see the problems are. Number two, it's very worrying that union leaders are basically pumping a message into their members that what can be done, nothing can be done, even if we do this, this is the status quo.
Oh, no,
well,
no,
the status quo, the world has had this issue of sexual harassment, exploitation for eons of years, for centuries, maybe for millennia even, actually. So an institution like the Namibian, which has always been on the side of the vulnerable, on the side of the suppressed, should be even much easier to approach, rather than sending out the message that, hey, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen if we don't work together. That we should know as a guarantee. Nothing will happen if we are just rumor mongering. So I think proactively we will have to take societal campaigns. We have to campaign at the office. We have to set regular, even more regular sessions about what is, for instance, sexual harassment. I don't think all of it is criminal. So, in the sense that the police must be brought in, that's when it's so bad. Some of these things are not as clear-cut as a crime. So, sexual harassment, as you say, touching the shoulder. If we're thinking of, I'm going to report you to the police after touching the shoulder, then that issue has already reached a damaging state. It's the signs, the small signs that we have to deal with within our institutions, within our society. Those campaigns, working together, put up posters, bring in experts to talk about these issues, bring in counselors.
Okay,
Those are the things that I think will solve the problem.
I have a minute and a half left. Remember, just quickly want you to eagerly respond to what Tangeni had to say.
Okay, so number one, we shouldn't even, going to put up posters, that's not where we should go. We should start with the contracts. We should give people job security. Is the Namibian giving its workers job security? That's a question that Tangeni has deliberately sidestepped the entire conversation. How many people have job security in the Namibian? How many people have their contract signed? The other thing is, I can't quite remember now.
Okay, we're running out of time. Tangeni, you're shaking your head there. Do you want to put anything to bed? Let's put everything to rest right now.
Well, what Jemima is asking is for statistics. We provide job security to our staff. There are contracts. There are instances where these contracts run out, and we have to deal with that when they run out. But I think somebody is using a certain issue to advance a cause that I really do not understand. And therefore, that's why I'm saying the union under Jemima preferred to make generalized public statements instead of addressing the issue where it must be solved. If she is genuine, she really has to work with us to address those shortcomings.
We'll leave it there. Again, I do have to apologize to the Youth Central team. I did ask for permission for this. I had to eat a few minutes off your show. But I do thank all my guests so much for making some time for us. A conversation that definitely doesn't end here. It won't end here. It shouldn't end here. The prevalence of sexual harassment in the workplace is one that from every stakeholder we all have to talk about. We've had the Ministry of Labour, we've had the unions, we've had the editors, we've had people on Facebook talking about this also. So do continue that conversation. We will be checking out your comments. We will be speaking about this more. From everyone else in studio, my name is John-Collin Namene. Cheers.